it means when you have a, let's just do this by quick example, right? I'm pretty sure I did this, but if you guys haven't watched the previous ones, you see here that, for example, a PC laptop, its local value is very dark because most PC laptops are black, right? So you get this type of thing here, right? So no matter what lighting condition this PC is under, it looks something like that, right? Because its base value is black. It has a base value. So even if I put a giant light right here, right? If I put a big light beam, it's not going to make this PC suddenly turn white. It's still going to be black as far as its local value goes. Yes, it'll change to other shades of black, like black under a bright lighting condition versus black under a dimmer lighting condition, but still black. Versus you go to a different laptop. For example, maybe we go to like an Apple laptop, right? PowerBook. Its base color is kind of this brushed aluminum silver. So its base value already is different than the PC. All right, so a Mac laptop has this kind of value. And same thing, just like the PC, the black one next to it, it has its own local value. So when I change the lighting condition on this guy, if I dim or increase the light, it's going to play off its own local value. So this guy, if I want to make it brighter, whoops, wrong color. All right, he looks like this. So these two objects in the exact same lighting environment, its base value don't change. It still stays that way, you see. So the PC, for example, if I light it from the upper right, upper right, this would become a little bit lighter gray, right? But still be quite dark. Whereas this guy could start getting some very nice reflections. And you can see that with, if you have a PowerBook or something like that at home, you could test it out. It makes this type of thing happen. But base-wise, it's the same. So that's what I did with this armor layer, is that it's different from his skin. This armor is a darker value than this reptile character's skin. So I just darkened it up to make those shapes pop out against the skin, and to also say that it's a different material. And that's all for the base layer here. So if I turn line drawing off, you can see reading quite well without any kind of line. And all that was is building up your basic values. It might look simple, but what's going on underneath is quite tricky, because what I'm doing with these layers is figuring out what these shapes, these basic building blocks of all forms, are doing. Okay, so you have a cube, cylinder, a cone, and a sphere. So this entire object is made out of these objects. This complex character here is made from these. So what I'm doing is I just say, okay, there's a light going on here. What happens if the light is actually here and these objects are laid in this way? So I can say, okay, must be surface number 1 in the cube that received the hottest light. This is going to receive the hottest light. That sphere is going to receive the hottest light there, creating a core shadow here. This one, a little bit there, but not anything major. The major light is going to come from here. All this is going to come from your bounced light and secondary light sources. You see, so that's what I'm doing here, except of course it's a lot more complex when you take it to organic form, but essentially it's doing this. So this cube, where's the cast shadow? It's going to do something like this. Where's this going to go? Well, the lights go over there, so it's going to do something like that. Whereas the light's still over here, this sphere go do something like this, right? Where you could project that core over. So the basic understanding of these forms is super, super important when it comes to rendering, especially when it comes to design, where you have to describe your forms and your design very accurately to whoever's going to work on your image next, right? You can't really cheat too much in this industry, because somebody will call you on it later when they're building your model and you did something that is not buildable. Okay, so that's what this is doing here. So let me delete that. And that's the hardest layer to do. Once you have this, the rest of it is just details. So if I turn on this layer here, Paint 2, you can see we're just starting to add some details in here. So I zoom in. Boom, boom. Let me turn the line drawing off. You can see. So we start developing his face. The head area is always a good way to good place to start with details, because the humans in general tend to look at the faces of everything, just like animals. So if you want to focus on something and you don't have that much time, focus on the main selling points, which on a character is going to be the head, the face, for example. Whoops, wrong layer. Let's turn line drawing back on. So let's go through this layer. There's only a few layers here, not much stuff going on. One added some highlights, added some details here and there. So that's what this layer did. 2 is some form separation, value separation. You can see here I put some atmosphere fog, but all that does actually is just to create some separation. See his arm right here? Turn this layer off. This area here, this value and this value, even though they're so close that essentially they could be the same value, but I don't want them to blend together. I don't want this arm and this chest plate to blend. So by adding a little bit of value decrease in the back, see here, that pulls the arm into the front, allowing me to sense a 3D space between the two. Yeah, and it also helps make this arm read better. A little bit of bounce light hitting the bottom of his chin, the other side of the armor. Heated up the light on these surfaces just slightly. You can see a little bit of hot light on these surfaces here. Not even sure what this last layer here did. Let's check it. Again, these are done in class, so sometimes you're just talking to make a new layer and you forget why you made the new layer in the first place. You show students something and then you already answer the questions by talking. Oh, so these layers sometimes are empty, so I have no idea what's on this one, so let's just skip it. Okay. And then next, this guy for a demo is almost good enough. It's like, oh, this character reads. Let's turn the line drawing off. The line drawing, see, so this is without line. It already reads as a 3D object. So if you spend a few more hours on it, you can actually make this into a fairly tight painting. And one good way to look at it is just squint your eyes and let the image blur a little bit, which I'm doing right now too. So if you're watching this video, just blur your eye out. Don't focus 100%. You start to feel this character start feeling very, very 3D, and that's a good sign. And there's no line drawing holding that. Right? You're seeing all the forms, the head, the shoulders, the hand, without any kind of line work to help it. Okay. But for now, I'll leave the line drawing in. The last layer here is some texture work. This is quite fun to do. It gives you some freebie stuff, meaning that if you're short on time, these texture stuff can save you a lot of headaches, hours of work by doing stuff that otherwise, this texture here, you see, I could paint that, but it'll take a long time to do. So instead, just slap some texture work and it'll make your image feel very tight as well, because you have high resolution, high density type of details that otherwise will take time to paint. Right? If you watch the last tutorial, I talk about texture density. So same thing here. So I put on this kind of, this texture is probably from metal or something. It's not related to a lizard at all, but that's the cool thing about reference images, that you can use it across the board. So you can see here I copied a little bit of that into his arms and legs. And then I quickly copy some kind of scratch metal material, you can see here, onto his armor. A little bit there. It's not super perfect yet. If I was actually working on this for a client, I'll go back and clean up a lot of this stuff to make it form into perspective. Like this, for example, this line here is too straight, you see. Even though his arm is bent, the actual texture line is straight. So something like that you want to correct, but they're very secondary. Right. For a quick sketch, it's very secondary because your design and your rendering is your primary goal here. Tiny things like these things are off. It's still okay because you can always say, hey, look, that's a splatter mark. You just happen to splatter this way, So those things you could get away with. You're not making some fundamental perspective mistakes, and those kind of things you cannot talk your way out of, right? So, anyways, with this there's nothing. Get rid of that. And then one more layer with the skin texture here. Again, the face is the focal point, so I want to bring some attention to that. So this is just a snake texture I have from somewhere. I scaled them in and out. So hey, that's a pun on the words. I scaled it down. Get it? Anyways, so here's a bigger scale of this, and here's a smaller scale, and even babier scale. So just one image, copy and paste it, and stretch all over the place. So again, I've covered this in the previous tutorials. Just really quickly slap all these things on there. Okay. And so again, that's the scale there. What does this layer do? Oh, same thing. It's just down here in the chin. A few more. So copy and paste it, shrunk it down, stretched it into to match the perspective. That's all that did. Up here is, so at this point, image pretty good. It's rendered out. Let me get a quick drink here before my throat burns out. Excuse me for a second.